under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Krasny, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Amaditz. Here. Mrs. Buckley.
Here.
Mr. Christensen.
Here.
Mrs. Cook.
Here.
Mrs. Dobus.
Here.
Mr. Means. Mr. Nagel.
Here.
Mrs. Rule.
Here.
Mr. Workmeister.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have two. One is under the extra duty to remove Robert Schuler, wrestling assistant coach, and under on 8-1A add Michael Walsh. Add a salary. I'll give you that too.
I think it's 65.
65.
It would be, yeah, it'd be on page 5. Under administration, it would be 8A1, Michael Welsh, at a salary of $65,000.
Thank you. Anything else? I need a motion to adopt the agenda as corrected.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 28th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. I need to announce executive session held September 18th, 2018 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information, and September 25th, 2018 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information. Staff report, Mrs. Sutton.
It's my pleasure to share the following items of good news with you this evening. Congratulations to Bethel Park High School seniors Joseph Bilski, Julia Herman, and Jerry Varghese, who were identified as commended students by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation in its 2019 National Merit Scholarship Program. They are among the top 50,000 highest scores in the country on the PSAT, which they took last year as juniors, but they are not among the top 16,000 scorers who will advance to the next round of competition for the 15,000 National Merit Scholarships to be awarded in the spring. However, in recognition of their outstanding academic promise, these students will be recognized with letters of commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation and could be eligible to receive special scholarships that are provided by National Merit corporate and business partners. Approximately 1.6 million students in more than 22,000 high schools enter this competition annually. The rainy weather finally cooperated in time to allow the Friday night homecoming festivities on September 14th to come off without a hitch or the need for an umbrella. The parade and tailgate got the evening off to a festive start, and the football team did their part to conclude the evening with a 42-7 victory. In between those events, the homecoming awards were presented before the football game, and the homecoming court was introduced at halftime when the king, queen, prince, and princess were crowned. This year's homecoming theme was Out of This World, and the students did a marvelous job of welcoming alumni and the community to the stadium on Friday night for a great evening. And the rescheduled Powder Puff football game, which was rained out on its original night, was played the following Sunday on a beautiful September evening. Congratulations to homecoming co-chairs Annette Barnhart and Lily Wilson and the entire homecoming committee for a memorable event. The College Board just informed us that 33 Bethel Park students were named Advanced Placement Scholars in recognition of the high scores they earned on the AP exams they took last spring. 2 students were named National AP Scholars for receiving an average score of at least 4 on all AP exams taken, with scores of 4 or higher on 8 or more of those exams. Congratulations to 2018 graduates Evan Ehrenholt and Noah Gearhart. 13 students were named AP Scholars with distinction for receiving an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken, with scores of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams. Congratulations to 2018 graduates Todd Ackerman, Natalia Ankowiak, Kayla Armstrong, Evan Ehrenholt, Emily Clairvitt, Jacob Cunningham, Noah Gearhart, Madison Newman, Brianna Shannon, Graydon Tomkowitz, John Beltram, and seniors William Martin Farmer and Cameron Silman. 8 students were named AP Scholars with honor for receiving a score of at least 3.25 on all AP exams taken, with scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more of these exams. Our AP Scholars with honor are 2018 graduates Max McKittrick, Jacob Opie, Haley Radcliffe, Connor Robinette, Jessica Scarlett, seniors Jerry Varghese and Anton Yanovich, and junior Hannah Gold. 14 students achieved the title of AP Scholar for receiving scores of 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. Our AP Scholars are 2018 graduates Andrew Davis, Grace Evans, Elizabeth Hartnett, Garrett Hoffman, Veronica Johns, Sarah Lang, Justin Lesnack, Blake Melchert, William Miller, Aaron Sullivan, Eric Wenger, Joseph Wright, and seniors Reagan Gray and Julian Sullivan. Congratulations to all of these students for this outstanding academic achievement. 13 Bethel Park High School students will be getting an inside look at careers of interest thanks to their acceptance into the Allegheny Intermediate Unit's apprenticeship program. These students will be able to participate in monthly day-long or half-day-long experiences at local Pittsburgh businesses, learning more about career opportunities in areas such as marine biology, filmmaking, and engineering. Congratulations to Samantha Brown, Garrett Kerrigan, Marisol Casanova, Morgan Cook, Trinity Ferenczi, Rachel Holt, Elena Carrick, Stephanie Kroll, Braden Lloyd, Madison Miller, Austin Reed, Brooke Waldo, and Alexa Will as they take an important step toward defining their futures. The Rotary Club of Bethel Park named Bethel Park High School senior Ryan Tischler as September Student of the Month. Each month during the school year, the Rotary recognizes a student for outstanding service to school and community. Ryan was recognized for his mission work in Appalachia the past 3 years, as well as his work with the National Honor Society and Principals Advisory Council for Students. Washington Elementary students are using their Hawk Time to develop innovative mindsets and to harness what their teachers are calling the power of yet. Students talked about the kinds of things they would like to be able to do but haven't mastered the skills to do it yet, and developed a plan that would help them reach their goal. They heard the story Giraffes Can't Dance and learned about the importance of not giving up and that mistakes can be positive learning experiences. The lesson was taught by instructional support teacher Lisa Cusick and reading specialist Nikki Galantine. William Penn's first graders in Mrs. Joseph's classroom used their superhero swag powers when writing sentences to ensure that their sentences start with a capital letter, were written neatly, and a space between words was given punctuation, SWAG. They had fun dressing up in masks and capes to show off their superhero powers. There may be only 190 students in the school, but Penn students proved that the Penn is mighty by raising $1,300 in 1 week for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. The students brought in money every day for a week, and on Friday they wore their favorite hat to school to put a cap on juvenile diabetes and participated in a walkathon during their lunchtime recess period in honor of second grade classmate Landon Garfold, who deals with juvenile diabetes on a daily basis. Organizing the school-wide fundraiser was fourth grade teacher Mrs. Clifford. Bethel Park High School physics teacher Lee Cristofano has been continuing his participation with Carnegie Mellon University's Fluency Project, and over the summer met with area educators and representatives from Carnegie Mellon University to learn about new technology approaches and activities that he can use with his students, not only in physics, but also the big data analytics class he co-teaches with Emily Smoller. Mr. Cristofano was excited about the things he learned this summer, saying they really fit in with the innovative mindset theme for the school year. If you recall, last month we shared that innovative mindsets was our vision for this 2018-2019 school year. Our theme focuses on 4 elements: to provide universal design for learning opportunities and learning supports for all students, to incorporate reflective teaching practices, to continue to teach 21st century learning skills to all students, and to provide a safe and supportive school environment. We are pleased to be able to share with you a couple of examples of how our staff is incorporating this theme into their lessons this school year. We hope you can join us for the Bethel Park High School Marching Band Festival, which will be held on Saturday, October 6th at 7 p.m. at Bethel Park Stadium. The festival will feature performances by marching bands from South Park, Laurel Highlands, Steel Valley, and South Fayette High Schools, as well as the Bethel Park High School Blackhawk Marching Band and Drumline. Tickets are $6 if purchased in advance from any marching band member, or $8 at the door on the night of the festival. The gates open at 6 p.m. Come out for a great evening of marching band music. See you there. Nominations are being accepted through Wednesday, October 31st for the Bethel Park Great Alumni Hall of Fame. To nominate a Bethel Park graduate who has distinguished him or herself either professionally or through community service, please go to the website bpsd.org and download a nomination form off of the district news section toward the bottom of the home page. Thank you for taking the time to let us know about our outstanding alumni. And that concludes the report for this evening.
Thank you. Anybody's here from student government? Anybody here from PTA, PTO council?
I'm Caitlin Metzler, 1000 Suzanne Court. I'm here on behalf of the PTO Council. Memorial Elementary PTA. This year, for enrichment activities, Memorial Elementary PTA will continue to fund the annual class field trips to the National History Museum, Aviary, Pittsburgh Zoo, and PNC Park, assemblies, talent shows, art and science expos, fourth grade activities, readathon, and spelling bee. In addition to this, the PTA is adding an after-school STEM program starting in January, as well as helping to establish an Odyssey of the Mind chapter at Memorial. Every year, the fourth grade activities group collects donations for their holiday festival as the price of admission. The charity for this year has yet to be determined. They will also participate in the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Coin Drive and Autism Acceptance Coin Drive in April. Some of the PTA's most significant issues this year seem to be focused on student safety while walking to school within the district. Other Memorial parents have raised concerns over how IEPs and 504s are being implemented and how hours for paraprofessionals are being provided and tracked. Ben Franklin Elementary is off to a wonderful start to the 2018 school year. They kicked off the year with a Rita's Spirit Night. They recently collected membership fees and closed the first Spiritware fundraiser. The Change Matters fundraiser for the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation went really well last week. The preparations are also underway for their Night Out with a Pop fundraiser held at the Bethel Park Community Center in November. Lastly, Ben Franklin PTO is proud to announce the funding of the Rachel's Challenge Assembly has been approved and scheduled for December 5th, a program that will benefit their safety and hero programs greatly. Via Ms. Kristen Ritchie Johnson, their art teacher, stated Rachel's Challenge provides significant evidence-based driven improvement processes. The program will help achieve critical gains in community engagement, faculty-student relationships, leadership potential, positive school climate, as well as significant reductions in bullying within the school. It's a program they look to implement for years to come. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln PTO welcomed new kindergarten students with a teddy bear picnic on the playground on August 14th. The PTO board held a t-shirt sale at the PTO information table at Open House. During the second week of school, Lincoln collected personal care items to donate to South Hills Interfaith Movement. Students donated over 300 items, including soap, shampoo, and toothbrushes. Their first PTO meeting was held on September 5th. They hosted an Orange and Black Spirit Day, and School Store was held on September 14th. Their fall book fair is scheduled for the week of October 8th, and they will hold their annual fall festival on October 12th. George Washington kicked off the school year with a back-to-school breakfast for the staff on August 16th and popsicles on their new playground event for all parents on August 19th. During the bake sale at Open House on September 13th, they raised $645. On September 19th, Tim Hartman presented an anti-bullying assembly called Folk Trails, enjoyed by all of the students and staff. Their pepperoni sale, Chestnut Hill Candles fundraiser, and Bethel Park Spiritware sale concluded on September 24th. On September 21st, George Washington went gold in support of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and participated in the Change Matters to DIPG coin drive. Their PTO is busy preparing for a family bingo night on October 5th, a fall scholastic book fair the week of October 8th, and their second annual Lucky Ladies Bash scheduled for October 20th at the Bethel Park Community Center. William Penn. William Penn PTO has a whole new board of parent volunteers in all positions of the PTO board this year. They welcomed kids and parents back to school with their Party at Penn in August. A food truck available for purchase with burgers and fries, Rita's Ice, and kids were able to meet up on the playground before the first day of school. Students were greeted by one of the Hawks in costume in the entryway of their school on the first day back to class. They have started their fundraisers for the year with a Dunkin' Donuts tumbler sale. They have also been selling kid stuff books and planning for a Sarah's chocolate sale and Chestnut Hill candles for the holiday season. Their first PTO meeting was on September 13th with a great attendance and lots of new faces. Joe from Met's Food Services was present to discuss the kids' menu choices at school, and Detective Dixon was present at the meeting to review school safety. They recently spent a week focusing the students on juvenile diabetes awareness, learning a new fact every day about this childhood disease. At the end of the week, they held a walk that the students took part in around the playground. The efforts were led by Mrs. Clifford and student Landon Garfold, and together as a school, they raised over $1,300 for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. They have a few assemblies booked for this fall and book fairs scheduled for next week. Looking ahead, they are planning their annual Fall Festival for October 19th, where they will be collecting canned goods to donate to SHIM. Kids also get to decorate and take home a pumpkin, jump in the bounce house, and enjoy airbrush tattoos. This event is also a catered dinner that is a fundraiser for the 4th grade activities. Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong PTO will once again be offering a learning presentation for parents by Ryan from Shape the Sky to present on the topic of social media and youth tech trends. This is a free presentation for all interested Bethel Park parents and adults. The date is yet to be determined, and the PTO provides this presentation at a cost of approximately $500. The annual charity carnival will be held in December under the direction of Neil Armstrong teachers. The charity or charities that will benefit from the profit are still to be determined. Neil Armstrong continues to offer Popcorn Fridays and monthly school stores. There is a restaurant activity spirit night planned for every month. Rita's Italian Ice was in August and Jersey Mike's in September. Upcoming fundraisers include Hollywood Bingo, Halloween Bingo, and the Color Run, which was a large fundraiser for the PTO last year. And finally, Independence Middle School. IMS has had a great start to the year. They are hosting their membership drive until the end of this month, and plans are already underway for the annual holiday craft show they host. This year, the show will be on Saturday, November 24th in the IMS cafeteria, and vendor applications are available via their website.
Thank you so much. Solicitor's report?
Nothing, thank you.
Any committee reports?
The Allegheny Intermediate Unit will be holding an autism roundtable discussion open to anyone that would like to attend and provide feedback for them and input on October 3rd. Another workshop, Right to Know, about the Right to Know Act on this coming Friday will also be held at the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, and they are currently putting together their comprehensive plan. It's all ready to go to the state. They have to put one together like we do. On Still Center had a very positive start. They were very pleased and proud that their completion rate for students who received all their certification had greatly increased, and it's the largest class they've had. So they were very pleased to report those numbers. And they also gave us a statistical report of we had exactly 16%, almost 17% are going on to a four-year college. These are the 2018 graduates. We had 25% are going on to a two-year college, 10 to an advanced VOTEC, and 25% were going to work full-time, and the others were like apprenticeships and military. So they really were pleased with the outcome from their latest graduating class. Also, under Shasta will be having their first meeting for this year, and we will have a speaker come and talk to us about school violence and school safety provisions in Act 44. That's it.
That's a lot.
3 meetings. We're into the swing of things.
And I have two to offer this evening. First of all, on, let's see if I can get my dates right here. September the 12th, we had the PTA council meeting, and much of the information that Megan shared tonight, or Caitlin, excuse me, shared, it was discussed, and we truly appreciate the efforts of many people, the parents and the teachers working together and benefit all of our children. And then we also had a meeting at the Pathfinder School, and again, I've tried to explain this, it's a little confusing in that there are 5 member school districts who basically act as the landlords of the building. The AIU provides the education, a very hardworking, dedicated staff under the direction of Mr. Nick Fratto, the principal there. And one of the things we'll be doing as the landlords, we have a big roofing project that will be moving along now, and a lot of discussion on that. And also, just mark your calendars, Mrs. Floto was kind enough to include this in the news you can use, but I'll offer it again. The spaghetti dinner on October the 12th, 4:30 to 7:30 at the Pathfinder School is one of the fundraisers that is done to benefit the children there.
And they do have takeout.
And they do have takeout, that's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Cook.
The news from the Recreation Department, Simmons Park Playground is now open, and I haven't been there, but I think it's supposed to be fabulous, so all parents go down and take a look at it. And second of all, Community Day is Saturday, so hopefully all of you will be coming out to Community Day.
Great. Thank you. Any public comments on agenda items this evening? And we'll move into our business. Oh, I'm sorry. Did see you.
Lisa Tursky, 2629 Summit Street. I want to sincerely thank you for hearing the concerns raised last week by the parents who live in the current walking zone. We are concerned about our children's safety, and a lot of us fully support you voting in favor of busing all the students. I personally feel that any modifications you would make, like more sidewalks, more crossing guards, would be an improvement, but I don't think it would give us the level of safety that our kids need walking on those roads. Again, 21 kids on an evening on my street versus, 21 cars going past my house on an evening on my street versus 107 in the morning. It's just such a huge difference with all of the other things that I had mentioned. So thank you again for listening, and I'm hopeful that you'll vote in favor of the busing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sorry. Good to go. We'll move into business items then. Curriculum Committee and Mrs. Buckley.
Thank you, Mrs. Cook. There are 5 items this evening under curriculum. Would any like any held out?
If I just want to ask questions about one that wasn't on last time, should I hold it out?
You don't have to hold it out to ask a question.
No.
Okay.
All right. You're going to wait until I move it and then ask a question? Okay, that's fine. All right, under curriculum this evening, we have number 1, professional development. Number 2, the 2018-2019 school calendar revision. That involves a change in the Kennywood date. 3, school-sponsored overnight educational activities, and that is the PMEA Regional 1 Orchestra Festival held in Hollidaysburg, PA, PMEA Regional 1 Band in Newcastle Area High School, PMEA Region Chorus at Greater Latrobe High School, PMEA All-State Convention Festival in Pittsburgh, and the Festival of Music Department Competition in Chicago. And all the dates and everything are in the agenda. I won't control that. Number 4, curriculum writing. And number 5, the Community College of Beaver County Memorandum of Agreement for Dole enrollment.
Second.
Items 1 through 5 under curriculum have been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mrs. Dobas. Any questions or comments on any of these items?
I was just wondering why we're having dual enrollment with Beaver County when we have the South Campus of Allegheny Community? I mean, in other words, do they offer something that we can't find somewhere else?
One of the reasons it's open, it's basically a 5-year agreement that's up. You've been partnering with them before. One of the things they offer is at Parkway Vo-Tech, even though our main vocational school is Steel Center, Parkway Vo-Tech we do send students to, and they have a program or two there that are run through the community college. So
Parkway Tech works through this Beaver Community College?
Parkway Tech hosts the Beaver County Community College to offer a program or two.
Oh, okay.
And so if our students wanted to participate in that at Parkway, we would need to have this agreement that runs for the next few years.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
You have one with Allegheny County.
Yeah,
College.
Oh, yeah, we do.
This is not in place of.
I just was
Yeah.
picturing our
many of
students
these
driving
anyway.
to Beaver County when we have.
Yeah, we had one, as you might recall, with CCAC, and then any other of the institutions, some of them have formal agreements that you approve, and some have less formal, but, college and the high school classes or dual enrollment. This one in particular was up, and we needed to get that on the agenda. I don't believe I called the high school. They're not aware of any student in one of the programs yet, but they could change at any given point, so we want to have that agreement.
Right. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Personnel Committee and Mrs. Rule.
There are 10 items under personnel, and I want to hold out 8-1A. Are there any others that anyone else would like to have held up?
Yes, I would like to hold at 7A, 5, and 6, as well as 8B, 1, 3, 4.
Wait a minute, well, wait, go back, 7 what?
7A, 5, and 6,
7A. Okay, 5 and 6, okay.
as well as 8D, 1, 3, 4,
8B, 1, 3, 4,
7, and 8.
7, and 8.
Oh, 8D.
8D.
What 18?
8D.
8.
You have 8D, 8D, as in dog.
8D, okay, got it.
And what were those, 7?
7, 8, okay. Let's hope we got these right. Okay, I move that we pass item 1, approval of extra duty responsibility program. Item 2, acceptance of a resignation. 3, individual memorandum of agreement with the Bethel Park Federation of Teachers. 4, approval of staffing changes. 5, approval to extend an unpaid leave of absence. 6, approval of sabbatical leave of absence. We're holding on 7A. Okay, so we're going to pass on 7A2, A3, A4, and under 8, appointment of personnel would be
We're
8.
holding that out.
But
Yeah,
just
we're going to
A.
do B. aren't we?
Oh, B, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
we're going to do
Sorry,
8B, and then 8C. Yeah, that's one, hold on, okay. And D, and,
D, 1 through 6.
okay, under 8D, oh, go on. 8D, we are going to hold out 1.
No, you're not holding it
No,
up.
I had.
Okay, we're gonna move
1
8D, we're gonna move 2.
1 through 6,
1
1 through 6.
1 through 6, I believe you're moving 1 through 6.
1, no,
No.
he's
No.
holding-
No, he has to hold.
He's holding out 3.
9, 10,
So we're
11.
moving 2, 4,
No.
no, he's holding 4.
5 and 6.
2, 5, and 6, right?
And then after,
And 9, 10, 11.
What?
9, 10, and
I haven't
11.
gotten there yet, okay. Okay, and, all right, and 9, 10, and 11. Okay, 9, appointment of personnel for the 2018-2019 alternative education program.
I think I heard.
10, approval of substitutes.
second, 8.
That's confusing.
I missed 8 totally. 8D was,
8B, we're holding up.
no, 8D. What did we pass on 8D? 1, 3, and 4?
We passed them.
2.
We should have had this listed.
Yeah.
So
8B,
what I have is 2, 5, 6, 9, 10, and 11. That's what you're voting on.
All right, so we held out 2, 5, 6.
No.
Two-
No,
we're
that's
voting on
These
them.
Or those are the ones.
are the ones we're doing. 2, 5, 6, 9, 10, and 11. That's part of the group vote.
Okay.
Okay, so items 1 through 6, 7A, 2, A3, A4, 8B and C, 8D, 2, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, and items 9 and 10 have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Amidits. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Mrs. Rule, we'll go back then to
I move
8A1.
back to 7.
7.
Oh,
5 and 6.
7,
I have to mark one down.
7A, and 5 and 6.
Second.
Item 7A, 5, and 6 have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Amidits. Any questions or comments on these two items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That item carries 7-1. Now we're to 8A.
And now we're going to, I move 8A1, Administration, Michael Welsh, for full-time 10-month school police officer at the salary of $65,000.
Second.
Item 8A1 has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Amidits. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8-0, and we happen to have Mr. Welsh here. Are you want to take it?
No, go ahead.
And we would welcome him and like you to come to the microphone and introduce yourself, please.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Pasquarello, Mr. Carazzi, thank you for voting me in. I think I'm going to do a great job for you guys. I appreciate the opportunity. A little bit about myself for the people here. I'm a 21-year veteran of the Mount Lebanon Police Department. I'm currently a police lieutenant there, where I run shift operations, as well as the past 15 years I've been part of the SHACOG CERT team as a crisis negotiator, doing a lot of training with de-escalation techniques, crisis intervention training, different things as such. So I think I'm going to be able to bring a lot of good things to the school here, as well as 7 years of crime prevention, community outreach in the schools, where we've been doing a lot of work with teaching the kids about social media, bullying, underage drinking, drug abuse, drug resistance, those kind of things. So I'm happy to be aboard, and I thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. I move now 8D would be 1, 3, 4, 7, and 8, under classified.
Second.
Item 8D, 1, 3, 4, 7, and 8 have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Amidits. Any questions or comments on these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Those items carry 7-1. Okay, I think that finishes up personnel. And we will move on then to facilities and services. And Mr. Workmeister.
Okay, Mrs. Cook, we have 3 items under facilities and services. Would anybody like any of them held out?
Number 3?
Number 3. Okay. For the first one, purchase of salt spreader, and the second one, seasonal water shutoff project at the high school stadium. So would be like, make
Second. Make that motion?
Yeah, second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Items 1 and 2 under Facilities and Services Committee have been moved by Mr. Workmeister and seconded by Mr. Nagel. Any questions or comments on either of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Mr. Workmeister.
Okay, item number 3, under Facilities and Services Committee, we have electrical repairs to the high school stadium.
Second.
Item number 3, under Facilities and Services Committee, has been moved by Mr. Workmeister and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on this item?
I just had a comment.
Yes, sir.
So basically what we've had happen at the high school stadium is our 25-second clock that you'll see at the games that count down. The wiring that goes in there is basically underground. I've actually visited it, and you pull up a plate to be able to plug it in and out and start the electric. Unfortunately, we've been getting water in there at times, and that water causes it to short out and have issues. It's also a little bit of a safety concern. So this is giving authorization to allow the electrician to come in and make this fix. Hopefully by doing this underground, we'll reduce or eliminate that shortage and increase safety. It kind of happened. We had heard a little bit about it, but I apologize for not being on last week. However, it just kind of came to a head where a more permanent fix was necessary.
Thank you for that information. I didn't know if that was part of the plumbing thing or not. That's what.
The wires to the boxes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. Finance Committee and Mr. Amidits.
Yes, we have 8 items under the Finance Committee. Would anybody want any of these held out for further discussion?
Number 8.
Number 8, any other ones? Hearing none, I move items number 1 through 7. Number 1 being the September 2018 salaries and bills. Number 2 being the August 2018 financial report. Number 3, the purchase of the stadium speakers. Number 4, agreement for grant writing services. Number 5, approval of lead and water testing proposal. Number 6, approval of student service contract. And number 7, approval to provide transportation in the walking zones.
Second.
Items 1 through 7 under Finance have been moved by Mr. Amidits and seconded by Mrs. Buckley. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Mr. Amidits.
Yes, we have one more item. I move under Finance, number 8, the acceptance of school safety and security competitive grant.
Second.
Item number 8 under Finance has been moved by Mr. Amidits and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on this item?
I have a comment. Yeah, give a little explanation since last week. Many of us probably have heard about grants that are coming out for safety in particular that school districts are going to be able to apply for. We knew that that funding was going to be there, but they recently released some guidelines, and the initial due date to turn this in is actually going to be October 12th. So it's a pretty quick turnaround time from when they actually released it. It's a good thing, actually. But I wasn't sure when the due dates were going to be, but in between this last week and this week, they sent it out. So I wanted to make sure I had approval on that. A couple little highlights on why this is sort of vague, but yet it's talking a little bit about equipment recommended by not only our school police officers, administration, but also probably getting some input from the police department. Is because this money needs to be spent on anything that is new. And by new, unlike sometimes we think, well, this is relatively new, our school police officers are new, they were actually in our budget prior to, so that wouldn't be in this definition as new.
New meaning not currently budgeted.
Correct.
Okay.
So even some of the
Not
things.
used.
Yeah, right. Yes, not budgeted. Thank you. Yeah. So that is true. And also on this note, some of the things that were eligible, such as you could have maybe looked at school police officer funding, mental health, like we had a contract with that we increased both through outreach, and the consultants is through Dr. Ventura and those types of things. You've already approved those, so I wasn't sure, I mean, some of those were budgeted, some of those weren't directly budgeted, however, they were already approved. So to my opinion, I didn't want to take a chance on these dollars. It has to be new. So most likely what we're going to be looking at is some type of safety equipment. We've had a couple presentations on that that Mr. Karazi and I saw, originally stemming from our district-wide safety committee last year, looking at ways that you could secure rooms and make those safe. So that's most likely what we're going to be looking to approve. So although that will probably have to be a bidded amount and one that's vetted from our safety team, something that kind of deters, an intruder or something like that, or to try to make our given room safe would be most likely what we would go with, because that would be a one-time purchase of new dollars, and it wouldn't be something that, yes, you might have to sustain it if one breaks or needs repaired, but it wouldn't be something that would be ongoing budget season after budget season in case the money dries up, and it should fit underneath the grant. Again, we're still exploring, trying to meet and make sure we got this, but it's basically due before the next time we see you. So that's going to be my recommendation to all of you looking at the list, is that we coordinate talking with our school police officers and the Bethel Park Police to determine what device or equipment would best serve our schools. So for example, just as a rough estimate, I think Mr. Karazi and I met with somebody who said something that would help prevent doors from being open. If you bought 500, they would be in the upper $40 range. So that would take you, if you times that out by 500. Looking at the amount of doors, we might have slightly more doors than that, but that should give us close to the amount of doors that we would need to make sure that they were secure, and that would take you up close to the $25,000. Our guys would have to install those. That's going to take some time, maybe some overtime, so I want to be honest to say that it could be a little more than the $25,000. And I'm not saying that product is the only product. We want to evaluate that, but we'd have to bid it out as well. But in general, my thing is I need some approval from you to move forward on this so that we could write the grant for that, because it's due on the 12th.
Okay.
And we don't want to
matching required in the grant?
There is not, and pretty much, this is as close as from what I'm reading, as long as you meet one of the requirements and get this approved and follow all the steps, you have almost 100% chance of at least getting to $25,000. So we don't want to miss out on that, in my opinion.
Is this state or federal?
I believe it's a state grant. Yeah, that's the way I understand it. But it is a little bit different in that it's a different grant system that we're typically used to using. So it's through partially through another entity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
The only thing else I would make a comment on that is, and this might be able to be retroactively, but approved if necessary, after we get through the first part of the grant, there is a competitive part for a Part B. If we get into this and see that there are some other things that might be of interest, I might come back to you and say, this I know we want to do, but if we get through this and there's opportunity for more funding, unless you have an issue with it, I would take it to mean that you'd be okay if we retroactively approve that in October. Any other questions? Because we're going to probably have to write specifically some type of equipment in there. Is that okay?
What if you don't use the equipment that you like for, you decide to use something else?
That's why I think when we write the equipment, I'm hopeful in the grant when we get in there, we're going to be able to write the equipment, maybe not specific to name, but more of like saying car as opposed to saying Chevy, Ford, Toyota, just in general. I'm hoping that we'll be able to write it like that and then bid out by law and talk to the police to get the most feasible piece of equipment for installation and what they would also recommend. But we've got a lot to do in a short amount of time.
Who's going to be writing it?
I think it's going to be a team approach between, Ms. Wells, Ms. Sutton, myself, talking to some of the police, but the actual author, will be a team approach. That's how we've done most of our school police officer grants too.
All in favor of item 8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. Mrs. Rule, will you take policy committee for me this evening?
Okay, I move, there are 3 items under policy committee. I move item 1, approval of policy revisions to final reading, which would be for policy 210.1, possession of administration of asthma, inhalers, epinephrine, and auto injectors, and 818, contracted services personnel. 2, approval of policy third and final reading, 810.3, school vehicle drivers. And the third and final reading for policy 302, employment of superintendent / assistant superintendent, 810, transportation, 810.1, school bus driver and school commercial motor vehicle.
Second.
Items 1 through 3 under Policy Committee have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Nagel. Any questions or comments on any of these items?
Does 810 say anything about that we're not transporting students unless they're 1.5 miles? I don't remember.
We can look at that, and if it does, we'll make revisions as necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have it.
We looked,
my
we
guess is
checked
that-
and we didn't see
Oh,
it.
okay.
I'm always cautious to say that, because I just want to make sure. But from our initial look, we did not see that it said that. It just,
Okay. Yeah, Mrs. Floto said that it doesn't have anything specific in there about that, but we can.
It's
I'll
a different policy
double
then.
check it.
It
well,
says
more
it-
or less, it just usually talks about options or guidelines, like you can or you could. So in other words, rather than changing the policy, if you ever wanted to amend this procedure later down the road, you wouldn't really need to change policy per se. You could go back to saying people could walk. So in other words, when a policy says they're allowed to walk, but if you say you don't want them to, that's fine. You don't really need to amend the policy because they still can walk by law and you don't have to change that. But to choose to do more than what the law states is okay. I mean, is that fair? I mean, from what we've reviewed.
Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those carry 8-0. Mrs. Buckley, would you do other for me this evening?
Certainly. It is the PSBA officer election. It is number 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Did anybody want any held out? Excuse me.
Yes,
Okay.
number 2,
Oh,
please.
the emergent, yeah.
Hold up. Okay. All right. So we'll go first of all just with number 1, and that is the PSBA officer elections.
Second.
Item 1 under other has been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mr. Amonitz. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8-0. Mrs. Buckley.
And item number 2, the approval of the Bethel Park School District Emergency Operations Plan.
Second.
Item number 2 under other has been moved by Mrs. Buckley and seconded by Mr. Amonitz. Any questions or comments on this item?
I have a comment first, if that's okay. So this plan that we have is something that actually is now being required to be approved by board members at a board vote, technically by September 30th, to be able to be submitted to the county. So our guys worked on getting a plan together from the old plan that we had, but I would like to say that I think this is going to be a fluid document, and by next year there will probably be some additional updates and so on and so forth. But initially, they worked really hard to be able to get a plan together.
Any other questions or comments?
I do. So in terms of it being a fluid document, it says that in there, and I don't know why I can't find it in my files right now, but I'm sorry about that. But it says that we're going to have 10 drills per year, and I was wondering, is that fire drills included in that 10 drills per year? Or is it other kinds of drills that we're going to have 10 of? Or if you don't know the answer.
Well, I mean, I would have to read the specific part to what they were talking about as far as the number of drills. I mean, technically by law, you have to have at least one safety drill a year, and you have to have fire drills also throughout the year.
It just said drills, and I just didn't know
I
whether they were
believe
going to be like
when I was touring the buildings and
weather-
talking to the police, they did say different things could be in place of. So I think the fire drills can be replaced by the Alice drills, for example. So I would
One.
assume they can be combinations of thereof.
The new
So
law
they
allows you
probably
to
are
replace.
broad-based as drills because of the fact that some things can replace other things
No, the way
as
it's
we move
stated, it
forward.
sounds like we will have 10. If we had 9, are we in violation or no?
Well, I mean, I think you want to try to stick to your plan as close as you can. So I'm assuming that the 10 drills that they're referring to in there would be, you know, your fire drills and at least one of these safety drills. Some folks are going to have more than one safety drill a year, but the minimum that you have to have by law and what we were going to do anyway is have one in the first, you know, month or so of school, which I think just about everyone, if not everyone, has completed at this point.
Okay, thank you. It also says that we need to have an emergency management coordinator, and I was just wondering if you have thought about who that person might be.
Well,
Because that's different than the school incident commander and the, I mean, they talk about two kinds of positions, the incident commander and things like that, but this one says emergency management coordinator.
So in general, with regards to that, we've been having some safety committee meetings that are going to be scheduled at the building level too. So I think for each building that you would be looking at from the district side of things, emergency management, it kind of is somebody who might step up into a certain role until the next individual gets there. So for example, as you get some people that are trained, like we met with Mr. Kuchma, for example, for Bethel Park, he may come in and then take over. So it's kind of like you get relieved as other people come in. So I'm not sure if they have to name an exact specific person, but I know he has done a lot of work in working with us on our emergency management and his plan and our plan submitted to him. So I think some of those things are as new people come on scene, then they take over the role and then you become more supportive.
Well, it actually, I'm sorry I can't find it right this second, but it's actually listed under what our responsibilities are. So that would be school board, page 15.
Because specifically, it does mention, I don't know if this is where you are or not, as far as the principal initially may be the incident commander until a coordinated incident command system, ICS, is established, da-da-da-da. So that is addressed there as far as the principal, but I don't know where you are in the program.
I'm sorry, I'm trying.
What about that flow chart, Pam? Did you look at that, figure 1? It's sort of near 4/5 down, or 3/5 down the document.
Page 27.
It has that commander in there mentioned, and I don't know if that's what you're talking about there, but it does show it.
No, it's not the incident command system. It's something that we as a school board, I'm so sorry, I had it, now I can't find it. The emergency management coordinator that we have to have in the school district. So anyway, I'll find it and I'll send it on to you. You said it's a fluid document, so I'll just.
It is,
I'll just
and
send
we
it.
wanted to make
I'll just send
sure.
it as a question. It's not something that would prevent me from voting on it. It's just that
You want a clarification?
it looked to me like in addition to the incident person who's in each school, we need to have this person in charge of it all, and I didn't know who we were going to look at as that person. So I'm sorry for being so unorganized about it. I'll just send it on to you later.
Okay.
But I guess the question I had is, besides, the position, is somebody responsible for this? I mean, forget about the title of the position. Is somebody responsible for this today? For knowing this. There's a lot of information here that hopefully people will never need to know, but somebody must be the owner of this.
So I think what I would say to that is that I think, these gentlemen that have been working on this now are looking at trying to update and make this a more fluid document to what their expectations are. So people have been obviously trained and are aware of the protocols through the drills that they run. That being said, like this summer, for example, we had a round table where we went through some given scenarios. And out of that, when you go through those scenarios, you start to think about things you didn't think about before. So I think when you lay this all out, each situation is different. So to answer your question, yes, I think that people know and are aware of this, but I think each time we practice and each situation that we review, the better we're going to become. So yes, people are aware of it, and we're going to need to get this updated document out and shared to more people that are appropriate for it. And in particular, people need to know what they're supposed to do when, and we need to continue to meet at the building level and at the district level and continue to figure out ways that we're going to improve and adjust the document accordingly. I mean, my main thing is I think every situation can be different. You could plan and you could practice, but things can be different. So you have to be prepared and different roles. You might have somebody listed today and they may not be here today. Then somebody else has to step into that role till you get somebody else in there. So that's just kind of the planning and preparation and why you drill.
In talking to Mary Beth, it sounded like any changes, grammatical, things like that, the table of contents, that's all.
She didn't get a chance, to be
Right.
honest, to completely
So
review
we're only
that.
improving right now, just the fact that we're just.
We're doing that, and if
Yeah.
grammar and if she catches spacing, I know that bothers her, and I really appreciate what she does to make that a neat document, so she'll get that organized. If anything changes in the sense of what's actually gonna happen, not spacing or sentence structure, those kind of things, then we'd bring it to you. Most likely, these folks will work on it throughout the year in their building level meetings and their district level meetings, and then by this time next year, this document probably will be a little more accurate, and every year after that.
Anything else?
I can tell you where it is. It's under the school organization, and it's actually under superintendent. I thought it was under school board. So that's page 22, I guess. It's the very first thing that the superintendent is responsible for. So maybe we'll call that something else, but.
Appoint a district emergency management coordinator to
Yeah.
assist.
Yeah, so that's where it is. I'm sorry for finding it late.
And then I was kind of looking at it where it says consult with the local emergency management office.
Mhm.
That's what I was trying to refer to about, Kuchma when he came in and we were working on those things. So generally speaking, that was what I was trying to say, is that whoever we name, is that if we name Mr. Karazi, for example, after you do it, or whomever that might be for a building, we would have to have backups. But when folks come, they also would take over and specialize in that, and then kind of wear a different hat and tell us what we would do next. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that's the incident people. So this seems to be an overall person, so just think about it if you're going to appoint
Okay.
somebody to.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? That item carries 8-0. We are now to the portion of public comments on anything the public would like to address the board on. 2 minutes at the microphone, name and address, please.
Sherry Wetzel, 375 Dale Road. I just wanted to sincerely say thank you for addressing our concerns for the transportation and the buses. I really, truly appreciate it, because now I'm not going to be sick in the mornings FaceTiming my son to make sure that he gets to school. So I know it's not going to be an overnight thing, but truly, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sharon Janisic, 4314 Anna Street. Since you mentioned the roundtable on October 3rd, I know for sure there is a roundtable on gifted education at the AIU on October 3rd. I hope some of you can come down and watch that. It's probably too late to register, but I registered to participate in that. So hopefully some of you can come down and hear as all of the stakeholders discuss and review what is working and what is not working in the Chapter 16 legislation. And hopefully you can come back later that night for the local task force to the right to education Their meeting will be that same evening. I'm the co-chair of that. That group is supported through PDE, through the AIU, from the Park Consent Decree for Special Education back in the 70s. And that will be an excellent meeting as well. We're bringing in someone who's developed an application with the help of CMU to help students and actually people of any age, for many reasons, learn to build sentences using pictures from their own environment that they take through their devices. And that promises to be a very exciting thing to learn about. We'll all get a chance to see that. And then all of the people in the room who are parents, professionals, and educators who work together to ensure every student's right to access a free and appropriate public education, talk about what's going on in all of our areas, and we talk about what happened on the parent assistance line, and we hear from the Office of Intellectual Disabilities and Achieva and all of the different partners that we have. It's an excellent meeting, and hopefully maybe one of you can come to that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to televise some of that, but I know they're going to do the Right to Know. They're going to videotape them, so I don't know if they're going to do the other ones too. Yeah, yeah, so we'll see.
Where's that going to be?
That's at the AIU.
No, I mean the second one you said.
They're both at the AIU.
Oh, both are at AIU.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Ken Crowley, 2020 Millennium Court. I spoke to the board last month about kindergarten. I appreciate getting some feedback after the meeting from some of the board members. I think if I present an issue or a problem, I need to start coming up with some solutions. I just don't want to come and complain. I want to look at some ideas and present them to you. So one of them was I was excited to see in the Almanac how you at least examined how much it would cost to bus kindergarten students to all the daycares in the district. So I'm hopeful. I know you guys did a great thing tonight in passing it for walking students. I think that's honestly your easiest solution would be to bus kindergarten students to any daycare within the district. But if you're not willing to do that, I understand because of the cost. But I looked at surrounding districts to see what they offer. And they all utilize, for the vast majority, a program called Extended Day Services, which offers a Kindergarten Plus program, which is basically what Lois Johnson is offering in every elementary school with the exception of Lincoln. They offer it in all of these districts, not only to kindergarten students, but every student that's in the elementary level K through 5. Chartiers Valley, Keystone Oaks, Peters Township, South Fayette, South Park, and Upper St. Clair all contract out through Extended Day Services. And they're able to provide that program to all their students in all their elementary schools and not leave one elementary school out. Mount Lebanon has created their own community-run program. They saw a need in the community and they created one where it's run. It's self-sufficient now through community board members, but it got started through the municipality and the school district having a joint cooperation agreement. So I just wanted to throw some solutions out there. I know you guys are having a committee or going to be getting a committee for kindergarten, and I just want to keep that on your minds because it is getting time where parents need to start looking at other programs, at private schools or parochial schools, or if we need to be switching daycares, we need to be getting on wait lists to be getting on those daycares. So if that's just something I know you guys are going to consider in the next month or two, I just wanted to put it out there and I appreciate you looking into it. Thank you.
And you also missed, but part of the meeting, what we were told was if William Penn has enough students to support Lois Johnson being on site there, then they will bus the Lincoln students. Right now, the reason they aren't able to do that is because they're busing the Penn students up to Washington, from my understanding, and they only have the one van, I guess, to be able to get around to all the elementaries. So we're still hopeful that that will pan out, and then we would have the service at all the elementary schools to bring them in.
Can I ask him a question?
Sure.
So are the kindergarten programs that you investigated, are they full day or half day?
They are all half day, so they would supplement. You would get it's before school care, which would then lead up to either if you have AM kindergarten, you could be dropped off before AM kindergarten, go to your AM kindergarten, and then do the PM program, or vice versa.
They're all in the school?
They're in the schools, yes.
But they're run by somebody
They're run
else.
by an outside agency, and they contract through the district and pay rent, and they charge a tuition to parents. It's the same thing that Lois Johnson's doing, but they're able to offer it in all their schools to all their students, and then transportation's not an issue. So you don't have to worry about a bus because the kids are already there. They would just go from there to somewhere else in the building where there's a spare room available. Yeah.
That's the
That's
key
the issue.
words.
Yeah, the
Spare
space,
room
the space is.
Well, and again, until he brought it up to us, I didn't realize that all of them weren't being bused, that Lincoln was left out of that, and I understood now why, because Lois Johnson doesn't have the capacity with their van when they're busing Penn to Washington, that takes up their time that they could be going out to Lincoln. So that's, if we can get that solidified with Penn having an on-site, then they're not doing that extra bus run, and they could go out to Lincoln is what they're telling us, I guess, within the time frame of, I guess, that noon time pickup and drop-off time. So we're still hopeful and working on that, right? I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna touch on that maybe briefly, and then also this, once this was over, if I had a
Okay.
chance.
Does anybody else have any comments? Then we'll move into any board comments. Did anyone wishes to?
I only had one. I just want to announce, if some of you haven't seen, that, I don't know if you remember, Dr. Jim Campbell was on our board. He is now the new Ward 2 council person. We wish him well.
Yeah, he moved on to municipal board. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Mr. Nagel?
just always blown away by the job the students and staff do in the Good News Report. I especially want to commend the PTO and PTA, particularly all the community involvement and citizenship, anti-bullying programs that the PTO and PTA are putting together. It's not just playgrounds and parks. There's a lot of very valuable things that they're doing that I'm very appreciative of for our students becoming good citizens of the community. I also want to commend all the parents and citizens who rallied together around an issue that they cared about and did the homework, did the research, worked together to inform us to make a change in the district. And I just want to commend you all for that work. And thanks to Dr. P. and Scott for doing the homework and presenting us with options and the best solutions to the problem that the parents brought to us. So, thank you all.
My other two comments, one was I was going to address, I think you hit pretty close to what I wanted to say about the kindergarten issue, that we did meet with Lois Johnson Daycare, and as you said, they're pretty confident that, William Penn Elementary will have enough, and then that will free up van space, so that is a possibility. In addition to that, they had some interest, if they could staff it, if we could find a space available to do something that was similar. I kind of asked them that, and they had some interest in that. I guess the first thing was, though, to make sure that that might still be an issue. In a phase-in plan, I think if they're able to transport the Lincoln students, then we might have part of the problem solved. They also did share, and I don't want to speak for them, but they also did share just in general about daycare shortage as a whole and being able to meet regs and get workers. So that's part of the problem too. Even to expand, you have to be able to get the personnel to be able to do that. So that's a little bit of an update there. So we'll see. They were supposed to let us know, I think, Mr. Karazzi, we're going to touch base with them sometime in the spring to make sure that it's going to work out with William Penn. So that's kind of one thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing I wanted to state was about, yes, it won't be overnight. Our tentative goal is to try to have this up and running for transportation for November 1st. I mean, maybe it could happen a little quicker than that, but our goal right now is November 1st. I just wanted to give a heads up to everybody on that so that they knew that we were working on it. Obviously, we have to get runs and try to figure out where some of those students are going to fit on other buses, what that would do, obviously, to the times of pickups for other folks. There's kind of a lot that goes into that. So it's kind of a lofty goal, but it's one that we're going to shoot for.
Dr. P, as far as the daycare situation, if you haven't already looked at this contracted service, the extended daycare or day services, I understand Lois Johnson would be maybe the best fix because they're local, but if we're looking at them having criteria that one school doesn't have a need that frees them up, that could change year to year if this other program might be something that would fit all of our schools every year.
Well,
Maybe-
go ahead. The one comment I would make to that is that there is going to be some buildings that just don't have a room. So to completely eliminate transportation would be difficult, number one. That would be then up to whether or not the district would do that or not do that. Yes, on a given year, this building might have a room, and this building may have a room. Then there's some buildings that may never have a room. They're operating kind of at full capacity at this given point. That's, obviously we have a great benefit here at Bethel Park where we have neighborhood schools, which I think is really good, and parents and students really like that. However, sometimes, that ebb and flow of, we've talked about whether or not rooms are open in certain places or where they're landlocked, for lack of a better word. So I think it would still have to be some form of transportation into the rooms that are available. I mean, if that's something as a board, if you thought about it and you wanted us to look into it next month, we could try to look into it, if that's something you want us to do.
You would have to look at, like you said, building to building, room availability. And the second thing is, when we did open it up prior to having Lois Johnson in, we only had 2 daycare centers who bid on the project, shall we say, and the one pulled out, and Lois Johnson was the only one left, quite frankly. Now, that's been a number of years ago when I think it was 2013, 12, 13, somewhere around there. So you could open it up again, but I don't know. It's not as easy as it sounds to get the individuals, just as Dr. P said, the folks have to count on number of students that are going to be there versus number of employees and how they're going to pay the employees, et cetera, and staff the sites. So we were always kind of happy that Lois Johnson did do that as a local agency because, as we said then, they were able to, with their van, do the busing back to their site. And,
On average, how many students per school is there roughly, that would have this need?
Well, I mean, I don't have that specific information as to exactly how many in kindergarten. I would like to make one other point I probably didn't mention from our conversation that I think would also kind of hold this up. And this is how you would want it, I understand, but there's a minimum amount of space per student in adult coverage. So even if you had a room, you may not be able to fill that by the regs to the same that you'd be able to fill a room. So the idea that you could offer it to everyone, I don't know that we would have enough room if everybody in kindergarten took advantage of that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but in some places it would be difficult. So it would almost still be first come, first served basis probably, unless we came up with some other plan, and bust them. I'm making it up to other areas of the district and buildings where we had rooms, and then you have age and start and end times differences and those kind of things. So I'm just saying there are a lot of steps in that need to be thought of.
And I will tell you too, when we started this program many, many years ago, Lois Johnson only came into a couple of our schools. I think it was just Franklin and Memorial. They weren't even at some of the schools to begin with because there weren't enough children in need at the building. So we kind of built the program up to the point where, and again, I didn't realize that they weren't busing from Lincoln, but we have built it up through the years to the having students at every building now having a need.
So I'm just a little confused. Is this William Penn transportation thing to Washington and the lack of transportation at Lincoln only relevant to the kindergartner kids, or is this the after school and before school?
I think it's just because you have that midday run. I think it's the midday run that you have the problem with.
Is that?
Well, my general understanding out of that is that, in particular with the midday run, but even see, at Lincoln, it wouldn't be an issue for before or after school because they have a program there for before or after school. The issue really is the Lincoln midday run.
Okay.
And so the point is they're not willing to purchase another van or have personnel for another van. However, if Penn became sustainable on their own and had before and after school care, then they wouldn't have, on the midday run, they wouldn't have to take William Penn kids back to their center in their actual center, which is located in Franklin, on the midday run.
That's right.
Do they have a center in Franklin during the day?
That's my understanding where they're taking these
During
kids.
the middle
yeah.
of the day?
So like all day.
At Franklin?
No, it's in the Franklin territory. Let me be
Oh,
careful.
It's on Brightwood
Yeah.
Road.
It's not in the school. It's in Brightwood. Yeah.
Not at
Okay.
They do have before and after school at Franklin, but they have an actual place.
Center is located
in
in
the
the
Franklin region.
attendance, or busing
Okay,
region.
I got it, I think. It's a little complicated.
Dr. Pasquale, since they don't have, I don't know if this would be a simple solution or not, or if it's illegal or not. Since they don't have the money to purchase another bus, would it be possible for us to transport the students and then charge them the rates that we would have to pay per bus, per driver, or anything like that?
I don't think that I think we either have to provide free transportation or we don't.
Or you don't? Can't use our bus, just wondering.
Anybody else? Then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.